All right, welcome to Book Club. I'm Dylan here with the fourth Peveril brother. He's asked Death for a magical Swedish-made penis enlarger pump. Why? You do the math. Keith, what's up, buddy?
That type of thing's not my bag, baby.
One book. Here at the Buddy Book Club, where we read out some bestsellers, and this week we're entering the hallowed world of Harry Potter and chatting about Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling. If you'd like to recommend a book for us to read or reach out to us any past episodes, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com, send us an owl on Twitter or Instagram, Buddy Book Club Podcast. You can listen to us iTunes, Spotify, your podcast, download, give us a 5-star review, give us, say whatever you want. You can give us 5 stars and say, you suck. That'd be fine. I'd be okay with it. And if you hate it, just, like I said, say so in the comment. Nothing else, give us a follow on social channels, please, and thanks. Once again, disclaimer for the Harry Potter series, there are spoilers for this book and past books. But at this point, I feel like you should know. And unfortunately, there's no future books for us to read. There's the Cursed Child, which I have read. Have you read The Cursed Child?
No, I've heard negative.
Not canon. Anytime they just start doing time turner stuff and it's like, oh, I turn back time and Voldemort's back. It's like, whoa, hold on a second. Let's get into some stock up, stock down. Keith, what do you got stock up for Deathly Hallows?
Stock up, Snape is actually evil. I kept on waiting. This is like your Ginny's a terrible actress thing where I kept on being like, I'm waiting for that to happen. I kept on waiting for Snape where I was like, I just always remember Snape being a good guy at the end.
Yeah.
But I kept on waiting for it. It never comes. Doesn't come at all. So let me give you a run through a couple things here. First, Snape stares into Harry's eyes and he's like, look at me, right? Before he dies.
Yeah.
Why? Sure. So you may argue that, he wants to see Lily's eyes one more time or something romantic or whatever like that.
Climax.
Or, Jesus. Or maybe he's putting a memory charm on Harry. He's doing a little memory charm. I mean, it seemed like something was going on there. If his eyes were so great, then wouldn't he actually like Harry and like looking at him and all these things in the past? It seems like I don't know. 2, memories can be altered, D-Man.
Obliviate.
We know this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Obliviate, and we know from the last book where Slughorn alters memories.
Yeah,
who says this guy who is an incredible wizard in terms of the memory stuff and the mind can't change memories and give them to Harry and put them in a flask and say, oh yeah, this is exactly what happened. Nice to rewrite your story, right?
That's an interesting point because if in like the wizarding court of law, memories shouldn't be able to count, right? Because if you can alter them, it's like circumstantial evidence. It's not actual evidence. So you're saying he just altered the memories that he gave to Harry about his conversations with Dumbledore.
Right, yeah, you're about to die, you're like, well, people are going to think I'm shitty, so here we go. And I'm just going to tell Harry I'm the best guy, I'm the hero of this story, I did all the great things. Number 3 is just, and the most important thing is, I'm not really big on talk. Everyone can talk big, everyone can say, I'm this, I'm that. What has he actually done? What action? What has he done? What action has he ever done that actually shows that he's a good person?
We're here talking about a book, and you're not big.
No, well, you know what I'm saying. If I were telling you I'm the most charitable person ever, I'm super charitable. All I do is charity.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you donate as anonymous, so no one knows.
Yeah, well, obviously. No, but you know what I'm saying? Like, then I have to go and do it. Otherwise, it doesn't mean, it's just talk. Yeah. It doesn't mean anything. Okay. What is he doing that actually is showing that he's a good person?
I appreciate this hot take, but we know...
It's not a hot take. I think it's a very rational take. It's a normal take.
We know his Patronus is the doe, and he led...
What is his brother's Patronus, Albus Dumbledore's brother's Patronus?
A goat, because he's a goat fucker.
They're similar to does, but okay, go on.
Sure. So we know that he put the sword of Gryffindor at the bottom of the lake so that Ron could get it.
Well, Spin Zone, Harry has the thing around his neck.
He knows
that, he wants that to be hidden from the world. He puts a desirable object at the bottom of the ocean so that will go kill him and he'll hide it. Right? Like, he could have made it easy. What was the point of making it a hard task?
Well, it has to be because for a Gryffindor to take the sword, he has to do it in like a brave or courageous manner or something like that. So Ron needed to do it to like save Harry or whatever the case is. That's the only way he could get the sword.
Interesting.
Fucking read a book for me one time.
I mean, it seems like one action doesn't really
Yeah, there's a lot of shittiness.
It could have made it easier. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Definitely like not enough to name your child after him and then say he was the bravest man.
If Ron isn't there, Harry just dies. He doesn't save him. Snape didn't save him. The story ends, right?
Yeah.
So what was I mean, what's the good act there? I don't get it. It's not like Snape dove in and pulled him out and he's like, I don't know who pulled me out of the water, you know?
Yeah, that would have been the one, really.
Yeah.
My first stock up is...
So you agree with me? You didn't answer that. You gave me one thing, I disputed it. You didn't even agree with me? You're just like, yeah, all right, you're right. All right, fair enough.
It's a super hot take. And that's
it's not a hot take. I think this is resolved. What has he done that's a nice gesture? You can just talk a big game, but no, he doesn't do shit.
He also kept the Caros off all the students while they were at Hogwarts. Yeah, Neville had a black eye. That was about it. It's not like kids were getting murdered. It's probably safer than normal.
He didn't secretly help students. He's not doing anything that's like behind the back of people. He's made Hogwarts significantly worse. He's made other people's lives significantly worse. He killed Dumbledore. He could have, if by the same logic that his hands are already dirty, so he's willing to kill Dumbledore, then just kill Voldemort. The whole thing's over. He's standing next to him. Just kill him.
What's the Horcruxes?
He's dead. Then they have no one chasing them as they go find the Horcruxes. Why would you want a person to be alive? That
was more of a lingering question for me. Is why do you have to kill Dumbledore or kill Voldemort last? Couldn't you kill the rest of his Horcruxes?
It takes 13 years to find, or 12 years for him to come back or whatever. So,
but his soul might be like a piece of him just floating out there. Yeah, I don't know. My first stock up, and this one's for you, Keith, is the Eras tour. Is this something you're familiar with?
I am familiar. Yeah,
so
I went to it.
I'm not familiar, but I'm just guessing here. It's a Taylor Swift thing, the Eras tour. It's like she goes and she plays all of her music from all of her eras. Is that the vid?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a greatest hits tour in a way, which when you're there, like if you have the ability to do that, it's great. And I that's a stock up for me as it relates to this book, because in Deathly Hallows, I loved all of the callbacks to like things and events from previous books. It was like a greatest hits tour, or like that 100th episode of Seinfeld where they go through all of the greatest hits, except that episode sucks. And this was good. This was well done. Because why that episode sucks is they just say, here's all funny jokes that don't make any sense in for the context of this episode. Whereas Deathly Hallows, they would reference back to things that happened in book one, or creatures they had run into, or blast-headed Scroots, all different stuff. But it wove so neatly into the story that was being told that it never felt like they were giving us a greatest hits. It was just like, oh yeah, I remember that. And knowing that this is the culmination of the story, it was great to kind of pull back from those memories and realize the journey that we've all been on with Harry and company. So it felt like going to the Harry Potter Eras tour, and I was all for it.
I mean, I was so immersed in it. Do you have some examples? I'm trying to think of like what, I guess, ones that you were like, that they called back to. Because I feel like when you're in this world, it's not a callback. It's just part of your life.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. But it was stuff that happened in other books. I mean, whether it be people or stuff about, the Chamber of Secrets, the Basilisk, and then Quirrell got referenced, Albania got referenced. Oh, that time that they tried to kill a hippogriff, just like they throw random stuff out there, but we know what they're talking about because it's like, oh yeah, that was from this book. I remember when that happened. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's really hard to close a series, but this did about as good of a job as you possibly can with tying everything, all the loose ends up, closing the series out.
Yeah, it catered to the super fans, and I appreciate that. And it didn't leave us hanging whatsoever. What else do you have for stock up?
Pretending to be nice and care about charity, stock up.
Oh.
Ron gives Harry 12 fail-safe ways to charm witches. Explains that it's everything you need to know about girls.
Yeah.
I get that the book, it really is just basically saying listen and respond to girls. Like that's what the book is. It makes it sound a little bit more nefarious, obviously, but based on Ron's attitude throughout the first 6 books, he's kind of a dick. So, and the person that Hermione really liked or fell in love with is that person. So I don't really understand why he needs to fake this whole nice attitude, but And the counter thing to that is that you do see that it works. It turns out that the only time he gets a snogger in the whole book, which you think this has been a long time coming, and you think there'd be a little bit better payoff here with like something that happens that they snog for the first time. But it's when he says, oh, we should like protect the house elves. Like he actually cares about house elves. So the first time in 7 years, he actually says one nice things about the house elves, and she makes out with him. So I guess the book works, and pretending you care about charities and just fake being nice is something that you should do. And so stock up to that. One last thing though on this is that Harry, after he gets the book, he goes like downstairs and he's with Mrs. Weasley, and he like pays her a compliment just because Harry's a actually genuine nice guy. And Ron gives him like a wink and a nudge, being like, oh, you must be reading the book. Which, does that just mean that Ron wants Harry to fuck his mom? Like, what's going on? I was like, wait, what? Isn't that book for getting with girls? What is this?
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's levels, It's about schmoozing, and then also the next level would be snogging, and then the next level would be fornication. So
okay.
Yeah. I think that they're rules that apply to everything. I mean, I'm sure they apply to this same sex as well. It's like those Men's Health magazines or whatever that, my dad used to have Men's Health, and I'd use it when I went to the restroom. I'd read it and it'd be like, how to get chicks or all this stuff. And it's all the same stuff. It's like, look into their eyes.
Looking.
Listen. Be good attractive. Skip to page 36 where we give you the ab workout. Do that. No, it's all it's all the same stuff. It's listen, basically. Listen, respond, be interested, and that's all it says. Which is just stuff that people should do. But you can't be too interested. Yeah, like George Costanza. I watched that episode recently. Good stuff. My next stock up, and because it is this week, I'm gonna have to say it, but it's Thanksgiving is stock up for me, and it does relate to this book because, at least for me personally, you can give me your take, but Thanksgiving is the number one holiday day as an adult. When you're a kid, obviously Christmas is super cool because you get an N64 or something that like blows your gourd and you're happier than you've ever been. But I mean, even this year, I don't want to buy any. Now I have to buy the gifts too. It's not just like my dad taking me to the store being like, "Oh, pick out something," for your stepmom, or my mom saying, "Here, take $20 and buy me something." When you're a kid, it's like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I got to do all this stuff. So Thanksgiving's the best because it's just being around the people you love. It's good food. There's football. You know what's going to happen every single year. Every single year, I know what's going to be on the table. I know I'm going to lose a lot of money gambling on football. I know I'm going to continue to try to drink until I get drunk, but know that it's impossible because I've eaten so much food and then I'm going to fall asleep.
Yep.
So even though I know what's happening, I know I'm going to love it every single year. And that is how I looked at not only this Harry Potter book, but just us doing this Harry Potter journey all over again. It was a lot of books. Like, we started this in June. You know what I mean? It's November, all these books and all the movies. And it had been a while since I had done that full rewatch and reread. And I know exactly what I was in for. And it paid off over and over and over again. I loved the whole experience. I forgot a lot about 7, I feel like, because this is the book that I've read the least out of all of them, because usually start from the one and go. It tied, like I said before, it tied all those like other books back. It tied up all the loose ends with the story. I really loved how much time we get to spend with Harry, Ron, and Hermione just together, even though Ron kind of dipped out of there for a bit. But the whole Horcrux hunting, Hallows hunting situation, it was almost like a Mission Impossible movie or something like that kind of thing going on. There was this like action movie thing that was happening in the Harry Potter world while it was also
plus like treasure hunting, which I love.
Yeah, like National Treasure, exactly.
Yeah, heist movies.
I got that too because there's a bank heist in the middle of this. I got that coming up too. Yeah, so I forgot how much I love this, and even though I knew it was coming, it was one of those surprises, like when I actually win one bet on Thanksgiving and it was a nice surprise, or the turkey just comes out perfecto. So, yeah. How do you feel about Thanksgiving? Top top two?
Well,
Or?
I think there's an analogy in this is that when you read this book for the first time, you get something different out of it. And when you get older, you get something different out of it. That's similar to my favorite holidays, too. It's Christmas, obviously, when you're younger. College, I think Halloween. And then 4th of July, post-college, I feel like was my favorite. Now it's starting to become Thanksgiving time. I like the comparison. And you also, like, after Thanksgiving night, you end and you're very satisfied and you're going to miss it. You wait until the next time you do it.
Yeah,
so,
I'm really going to miss
Harry Potter series.
I'm really going to miss Harry. I'm glad we still have the movies, even though I'm not a huge fan of the movie series in general. But I'm glad we have them just because I feel like I don't have to fully close out my Harry Potter stuff. Well. Because when I finished reading this, in my mind, as I'm getting towards that end of the book, I was like, holy smokes, it's going to be... Is the next time I read this going to be when I'm reading it to my daughter in like 8 years?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know when I would kind of go back and do it. Where Caroline, she legitimately is reading Harry Potter book every day. Somehow she's like, oh, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to put on Harry Potter book 3. I'm like, okay, cool. Go for you.
It's like Seinfeld for her. I appreciate that.
They're both. They're legitimately, it's either Seinfeld or Harry Potter in her ear these days.
What is great is like I've already forgotten like half the book. Even the 7th one, there was so much that happened. I was like trying to recall what happened like after reading it. So it is great that it's so much that you can probably go back in a couple years and not remember most of it.
I can remember the first time I read this book, I tried to read it as fast as possible so I would miss stuff. Like my goal was to miss stuff because I wanted to then
that's what I told my teachers in high school too. I just read it so quickly I must have missed stuff. I'm such a fast reader. Yeah.
What else do you have for stock up?
Last one, it's a quick one. Just Unforgivable Curses, stock up. Early in book 4, we get introduced to them, and they're like these frowned upon things. We're just throwing them out whimsy nimsy in this book. They're just, obviously I'm going to do some Perio on these five people in Gringotts. Not a big deal. I mean, also, I thought you had to, like, practice and hone these. I think these are, like, the hardest spells ever. You talk about, like, casting Patronus is impossible. I thought, like, the dark spells are impossible, but it's just, nope, easy day. And then he pulls out a Crucio, I think, right in front of McGonagall, right? I mean, that was deserved. So I appreciated that. I was pretty pumped about that. But at the same time, you think McGonagall would be like, oh, my God, I can't believe you used that curse. She was just like, well.
It's unforgivable. It was one of my stock downs actually was branding because they're branded as unforgivable curses. I don't know who the person that you're looking for forgiveness is, but everyone is not forgiven because, like you said, Harry pulls out the Crucio on the Caro sister in front of McGonagall, and she's giving him a slow clap for it. Molly Weasley, presumably Abracadabra's Bellatrix Lestrange. Because she kills her, so I don't know how else. I mean, obviously, there's lots of spells that could kill people, but it's not like she's, sectum semprering her. So she did that. And like you said, they're piercing everyone left and right. So, yeah, I don't know whose forgiveness we're looking for with these being unforgivable, because everyone's using them.
Maybe they're serving jail sentences after this, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't understand that at all. And it's a great point that you make, too, with... the amount of chapters that we spent on Harry learning his Patronus charm, and then for just easily just Crucios, Imperios, Abracadabras getting thrown left and right. It's like, what? It'd be like they just created a gun that no safety, hairpin trigger. You just can... Anyone can fire it, and they're marketing it like it's like a Stretch Armstrong. They're marketing on Saturday morning cartoons to kids or something like that. Anyone can just go around and abracadabra people. So yeah, I had that as well. I noticed that. I like that one.
Do you remember the Unforgivable video on YouTube?
Yeah, of course. Waffle fries?
I mean, that was marketed. Yeah, that was marketed well. So maybe that's why they did it.
Who are they looking forgiveness from? I don't get it.
I don't know.
I got two more stock ups. One's pretty quick, but stock up audiobooks, and this has been a stock up left and right for us on this podcast because we like to listen to these and many of the books we do. The best part about audiobooks for me, and this has been discussed, so I'm not going to go into it, but you can listen to them anywhere. It's as simple as that. Whether you're folding laundry or taking the dog for a walk, basically all the raking leaves in the yard, all the mundane stuff that you like kind of sucks. I mean, some of that stuff's not too shabby, but it just gets better when you have a good audiobook in your ears. But especially for this book, I listened a lot while I was making dinner, and it was really important because anytime I felt it coming on. Go into the cupboard, grab an onion, start cutting it. Easy excuse. Easy excuse. Caroline comes in. She's like, "Are you crying?" I was like, "Oh, sorry. I just started cutting onion." The Weasley twin down, cutting onions. Percy comes back into the fold, and everyone hugs it out. Oh, cutting onions. No big deal. Little always from Severus Snape, cutting onions. So Dobby, oh my God, don't even get me started. I had to go through a whole bag. I was like, French onion soup tonight. It's French onion soup tonight. I'm cutting 5 pounds of onions. So yeah, audiobooks stock up because they help you to cover it up. If I was just sitting on the couch reading this book and crying, I'm not a big male masculinity thing, but at the same time, I don't want to be reading a Harry Potter book at the age of 37 crying on a couch right now. It's not the greatest of looks. So appreciate the audiobooks.
Nothing wrong with it. I told you I was on an airplane the whole time. You get emotional for no reason. That's what was happening to me. So yeah, we're all the same page. Yeah.
And then my last stock up was conspiracy theories stock up, and this relates to Xenophilius Lovegood and the Hallows story. He's telling them, he's got all those pendants on. He's telling them this Hallows story, and Hermione is just all like, "Oh my God, you fucking idiot! No way this can be true. This is absurd." Hermione, you live in a magical world with ghosts, ghouls, giants, a sorcerer's stone, blast-netted Scroots. Like, why is this so unfounded? Like, why is it so unbelievable? I do get that Hermione is quite a literal person, and I think they do a good job framing it to make it believable, but at the same time, you should never say, "I don't think so" about anything in this world, because
Agreed.
All of it's right in front of us. Like, the Hogwarts itself is crazy magical stuff going on. You've been there. You've seen this throughout the years. There are these Dementor things that suck souls out of your face. I think that the idea that someone could negotiate with death is a decent potential. This is all conspiracy theory, the whole Hallows thing, and it turns out to be true. So conspiracy theories stock up, just like UFOs. Check the releases.
I mean, mine was kids' fairy tales stock down. The first half of it is the same exact reason. Mm-hmm. There's magic, there's dragons. What's the make-believe part of, how do you tell a fairy tale
Good point.
I was going to compare it. It'd be like telling like a fairy tale to someone being like, and then there's metal, cylinders that fly in the sky, and then they land at an airport, and then being like, oh my God, I can't believe that's crazy. And like, no, that actually happens already. So it's not really that nuts. But
yeah,
it's a fairy tale, and I'm hoping that when you start reading fairy tales to your newborn here, that you're maybe not telling the ones that they tell in the Wizarding World. They're just kind of like talking about the fairy tale, and it's like, oh yeah, and so like it's a kid's tale. Everyone knows it growing up, and it's like, it's super childish. Like, what happens? Like, oh, they talk to death, and they get 3 things, and 2 of the brothers, they both die. One of them is haunted by dead people walking around, and basically it's so inflicted by that, and they off themselves, they kill themselves. Kid's book, kid story. Yeah. And then the other one gets stabbed in the back at night while they're trying to sleep. So good night.
Yeah, don't let the bed bugs bite.
Yeah, like, this is a kid story.
They're like the original Hansel and Gretel type, like the Brothers Grimm fairy tales that are actually like much darker.
I guess those are dark too. Yeah, that's a good point.
Even Goldilocks and stuff like that about and Little Red Riding Hood.
Burn in your mouth on oatmeal? Or on what's it called? Yeah, that is pretty brutal.
Porridge. Yeah, porridge, yeah. Which is oatmeal, yeah, sure. I meant Little Red Riding Hood. But yeah, the original ones are mess up. Like Hansel and Gretel is really messed up from what I remember about the actual original story. So my first stock down is the idea that Voldemort is one of the most dangerous wizards in history. Stock hard down on that. So I'm not even going to mention that he's been blundered by a child legitimately 6 years in a row. Every single time they go up against each other, he loses. He's like Jim Harbaugh against John Harbaugh.
Deep cut. Nice.
Yeah, thanks. Pertinent. So when the battle for Hogwarts, he's got Dementors, he's got giants, he's got werewolves, he's got Inferi all on his side. and yet he still can't beat a handful of kids at his school, like a handful of kids and a couple of teachers. He's like the cartel goons in the movie Toy Soldiers. Did you see that movie? Please tell me you have.
Toy Soldiers?
Yeah, Sean Astin. Yeah. It's like the drug cartel goes to take over the school and all the kids get him. Harry Potter's like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone in all of this, and he's the sticky bandits or the wet bandits, whichever one or two you want to choose. But either way, Voldemort is not the most dangerous wizard in history. And then on top of that, what we learn in this book, we have to talk about the Horcruxes, obviously. As someone trying not to die, one would assume that these Horcruxes are of the utmost importance to Voldemort. And Dumbledore alludes to much. And we obviously know at the end when Voldemort puts Nagini in his protective little cocoon there, that he agrees. But outside of the locket, which was in a very complicated magical situation and like extremely hard to obtain, which makes sense. That's what you would do for Horcrux, right? You would put it in this faraway place, so it's in a cave on a lake, when then there's all this magical stuff going on for you to get there. That makes a lot of sense. But outside of that, we got the Gaunt Ring. The Gaunt Ring is just lying around in a broken down shack. It's legitimately just sitting there. Anyone could go by and pick it up. Voldemort's just relying on the idea that no one will know his lineage, so they won't be able to do that, even though people know that he's the heir of Slytherin. So you could kind of try to trace Salazar, you do what Dumbledore did, but just to have he goes to the Gaunt House, goes to the rubble and just puts the ring down in there. And he's like, that one's good. Piece of my soul. Real good. No problem. The Ravenclaw diadem, just sitting there in the room of requirements, specifically in the place where people go to hide things. Voldemort says himself he thinks he's the only one to have found the room of requirements. How is that possible?
Yeah,
there's shit everywhere. It's like walking into
it's all of his stuff.
It's like walking into a hoarder house and being like, oh, no one's lived here before. It just doesn't make any sense. So Hogwarts has been around for hundreds of years. So the idea that he would walk into that room and it would be empty is almost impossible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just say that, okay, that is what happened. He walked by the room. He said, I need a place to hide something, and an empty room showed up. That's what you're going with to hide a piece of your soul? Like no one else would walk around and just say, oh, I need a place to hide something. It makes no sense that would be the smart thing to do. So I'm not going to talk about the Hufflepuff Cup because Gringotts, whatever, fine. I don't care. But the rest of it seems so stupid.
Gringotts was pretty rugged. That was a tough one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. But at the same time, all he did was hand it to Bellatrix and say, put this in your safe. Because Gringotts already has all that stuff together, which he didn't do it himself. He has to just trust that Bellatrix is doing it. There's still, not necessarily the most important. And I mean, even the diary, he just gives it to Lucius Malfoy and doesn't tell Malfoy. Malfoy could have brought that down to the local library and donated it, which actually would have been the safest move. Now it's in circulation. No one's ever going to figure that one out. So yeah, Voldemort, not a top 10 bad guy in the history of the wizarding world.
Well, yeah, he's just too arrogant, and then really it comes down to he's just never about that life. Not ever. Never wants to get his hands dirty. Never kills Harry when he's a baby with his hands. He doesn't enter the battlefield, the main war. He's like, I'm going to sit back. William Wallace, Alexander the Great. I don't know if Alexander the Great entered the battlefield
Mel Gibson
either.
From the Patriot. Thank you.
Mel Gibson from the Patriot. I mean, all the people that are actual leaders enter the battlefield first. They're leading the charge. You can't just sit back. Come on. That's soft.
Be better, Voldy. All right, what else you have for Stock Down?
Yeah, last one is just Lupin, Stock Down.
Oh, buddy, no.
I mean, it's tough. I don't want to trash on someone, but when Lupin first comes in to the Weasleys, and he comes in super, super hot, I initially wrote down Stock Down getting married. I was like, oh man, this dude's really changed. He really kind of sucks. So he got married. Because his disposition previously was super nice and understanding and always like very well tempered. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh, it's because he's having a kid. And I was like, Stock Down having a kid. But Turns out it wasn't that either. I guess that was of the reason that he was being so harsh. But I mean, the dude did die after all, so I don't want to
talk ill of the dead.
Yeah, but he didn't get really a proper death. We don't know what happened to him. It's just him and his wife died, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
They're just laying there. Nothing really great for him in this book. He has a big argument or blowout with Harry, or Rout, as they would say in Britain.
Yeah.
But the real reason, good fix. The real reason that it's a stock down is because the dude's a werewolf. It's been 3 or 4 books here that we've known that, and he hasn't really. Has he turned into a werewolf since then?
I mean, I'm sure he has, but not on screen.
We're not really getting anything, but why don't we just go full Incredible Hulk and
I was thinking the same thing.
Unleash him on the Death Eaters? What are we doing here? It's just a huge miss. I actually wrote this note when I saw there was a full moon, and I was like, where the hell's Lupin been recently? Like, why isn't he out there terrorizing people? Like, this is a guy you want on your side just to unleash on people. But
you were listening to it, and you looked up at the sky and saw a full moon. You're like, where's Lupin been?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you could have put a couple of pages in there for it being a full moon during the Battle of Hogwarts, and Lupin is able to like differentiate his wife from the Death Eaters and goes straight after them. It just has his Wolverine moment and goes, full berserker mode on Greyback. Just goes straight after Greyback and somehow gets cursed. And then Tonks is an Auror. She's a badass. So I want to see how she died, because I assume that it's when you see a samurai die or something along those lines, and around them is just 100 enemy bodies.
Right. Yeah.
I would have liked to see more. I thought you were going to keep going with your stock up, stock down about marriage, having a kid, and then straight to Teddy and be like not having parents, being an orphan. Stock up.
Harry was the godfather, and so shouldn't he be like growing up in their house?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
I was like, wait, so you just abandoned the kid?
But I figure it was a tough book for Tonks's mom, who lost her husband, her daughter, and her son-in-law. Yeah. So I think the only thing she has left is her grandson. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a Neville type situation for Teddy, where he grows up with his grandmother, especially because he's named after his grandfather, right? So, it just seems like she would raise him. But yeah, you didn't even really talk about Lupin's worst moment, which is when he went to Harry, Ron, and Hermione and asked to join them. He was like trying to Peter Pan this whole thing and be like, let me join you kids on your journey. And they're like, get out of here, geezer. Like, what? No.
I didn't really have a big issue with them there. So you're telling me you couldn't use an extra wizard and like you don't trust Lupin? I didn't really fault him that much for that. I guess he was running away from his problems, so. Yeah,
he wasn't doing it for the right reasons. That's for sure.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
He had a little bit of manic stuff going on. I mean, even the best time we see him, he's like coming in. He's like, Tonks had the kid. Oh, let's get drunk. All right, I gotta go. I was like, what? Nope.
Yeah.
All right. Like, what color's his hair? Is he gonna be a werewolf? I don't know. I gotta get out of here. It's like, all right, Lupin, you're having a moment here. Yeah. So not a good book for him. Unfortunately, no. He dies at the end, and Harry didn't want to name his kid after Lupin, one of his best teachers, and whatever. He wanted to name it after one of his worst teachers, Severus Snape.
Yeah, makes sense.
Second to last stock down is a Prejudice stock down. A lot of Slytherin prejudice here at the end from McGonagall. We've been getting Slytherin prejudice throughout, but Voldemort's attacking the school, and he says, bring out Harry Potter, and a bunch of the Slytherins step up, and they're like, all right, let's get this guy. And then the rest of the school steps up, and they say, nah, through over our dead bodies kind of situation, where McGonagall has to step in and say, Slughorn, take your whole house, get them out of here. They're done, There's got to be some good eggs in there, right? Some good eggs that want to stay and fight that are just getting pushed out the door. What about kids whose parents are Death Eaters, but they're rebelling against their parents? I don't want to be, they're terrible people. I don't want to be a terrible person.
Well, they probably wouldn't be in Slytherin then, I guess would be the...
But is that the case? You have to just be a terrible person if you're in Slytherin? Or what about maybe this kid is a terrible person, but their parents were Death Eaters and Voldemort killed their parents, because Voldemort's killing Death Eaters himself left and right in this book. when they're, not doing right by him. So you wanted to be a Death Eater, like Regulus, and then all this bad shit happened, and you say, nope, I'm anti-Voldemort. You're ready to fight. You're ready to fight for the school, and McGonagall's pushing you out the door. Prejudice. So yeah, I don't stand for prejudice, and I don't. It's not a good look for McGonagall, in my opinion.
I will go back to my Snape take. Actions speak louder than words. I mean, if you want to step up and game up and show that you're part of Hogwarts and you're actually a good person, then step to the plate and do that. Don't keep saying, well, maybe they could have done. No, just do it. You know what I mean?
So, well, they didn't have the opportunity. They got dragged out of the school.
They've had 7 years of opportunities. I haven't seen one of them step up to the plate and do anything good. So until then, you keep quiet and you get out of the Hogwarts.
You seen the movie Half Baked?
Yeah.
When Pansy Parkinson or whatever is saying, grab him, to Harry Potter, and then everyone steps up. I pictured the scene where the guy's like, boo this man. Boo, and then the rest of the people just go, boo, boo. You ever suck dick for marijuana? Okay. Last one, quick one. Wizarding negotiating skills stock down. Once again, they're just not teaching the right stuff at this school. Harry has a deal with Griphook, right? So he saves Griphook's life. Griphook is being tortured and held prisoner by Voldemort at the Malfoys. And Harry saves his life. Not only that, Griphook witnesses him burying Dobby, a house elf, a presumed lower being to most wizards, which Griphook is taken by. So Griphook should know that Harry's a good guy, and also that Harry saved him. So Harry should know this as well. And then when they start negotiating on how to get into Bellatrix's vault, Harry just gives him the sword. And I know Harry has this loophole that he said, okay, I'll give it to him, but it'll be after we have all the Horcruxes. But still, it seemed like he should, when Griphook said, give me the sword, Harry's rebuttal to that, classic negotiation is he goes, no. And then you start negotiating. Not, let me think about it. Okay, I thought about it. Yeah, sure. I'll give you the sword. So, yeah, what are you doing, Harry? Not great.
Yeah, and if this book teaches you anything, that the prejudice part, you almost can use prejudice.
Oh, yeah.
all the Slytherins are terrible. All of
the goblins.
What kind of creatures? Goblins are bad too.
Yeah.
It's like what else could you do to make them turn your side? So apparently not.
Yeah, Bill has to give him the big speech about how terrible goblins are. Also, the way goblins look at stuff, I understand perspective matters.
I thought that's a cool logic to have. I thought, well, it's just an original idea that you would. It's so backwards that you would never think of it, but it's a creative thing to come up with as a bad guy.
It's an ultimate business idea for goblins because everything is a rental. They own everything. It's a lease. Everything is a lease.
It's smart.
Yeah. It'd be like everything that we owned, that we bought. If Jeff Bezos did this, you'd have to return all of the stuff to Amazon afterwards. You'd be like, oh, well, now you owe me money. It's like, I broke the cheese grater. It's like, it's like the Rent-A-Center situation. People get poor using Rent-A-Center. It's like exactly like that.
I'm not supposed to be renting my bed right now? That's weird.
Okay, let's get into the Bernie and Bot's Every Flavor Bean Potpourri section here. Interesting for this book in particular, not a lot of magical elements that weren't talked about, not a lot of spells, and not a lot of magical creatures. So I didn't know if you had any of those. Maybe magical element, perhaps.
I fit the round peg into the square hole for these.
Okay, cool.
To make it work.
Well, let's start with what we like to start off with. Favorite chapter or part of the book in Deathly Hallows. What do you got?
Mine was, and this one I literally didn't remember one part of this at all, was you already mentioned it, the Mission Impossible infiltration into the ministry. Mm-hmm. They're in different disguises. They're basically like kind of going off the cuff. They're just kind of trying to figure out as they go. I didn't remember the scene at all. I told you I forgot Umbridge was even in this book. And I was like, wait, she's here? Like, everything about it. And then him just like coming out being like, I can't stand this shit. And then kind of leading the whole pack of people that are about to be tried away and saving them as well.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Everything about it was awesome. So that was my favorite. There's so much good parts of this book, but this is one scene I completely forgot about. I thought it was a completely underrated scene.
Yeah, that's a good mention because it almost happened so early on in the book that I forgot about it by the time I had finished the book, you know? And it is so good because it's like the Mission Impossible, but where usually they get like 4 steps into the Mission Impossible and then shit goes haywire. This is, they plan for a month and then the first second they get through the elevator, it starts to go awry, which is great. And they all get split up and, you know, read the book. But it was, I really like that as well. I thought that was a really fun chapter that I didn't recall. But for me, and maybe it's just because I'm more into like the like lore type stuff or whatever, but I love the story of the Hallows, and then that ties right into pretty much the whole time at like Shell Cottage, because it ties right into that Shell Cottage situation where Harry has his aha moment, realizing that not only the Hallows are real, but Voldemort has been trying to get the wand, and now Harry has to make a decision, Hallows or Horcruxes. And I like this not only because it's awesome, but because we've been getting these teasing moments about this stuff, not only throughout this book, but throughout the whole series. And then you can start tying the pieces together in your head where it's like, holy smokes, Harry has this cloak that is one of 3, like that's pretty crazy. And Dumbledore had this wand. What? He had the most powerful wand. And hearing that lore, and then the conversations that he has with Ollivander and then Griphook about deciding what to do next, I loved it a lot. And it was a big comeuppance to Hermione, who didn't think that it was real. So yeah, I thought that aha moment, and that, I feel like that is kind of, well, I was going to say it's the halfway point of the book, and it really turns the tone right there, and we go into a different kind of section. But as you'll see when we watch the movies, that is where they stop of the movies. So
I was wondering where they stopped.
Yeah, they stop it at Dobby's death. Yeah. What about a favorite character for this one?
You know what? For this one, I'm going Harry. Harry went through a lot in this one. It's just a great all-around book. It taught us a lot about leadership, perseverance, sacrifice, all the things a great leader, a great main character has to embody, and he did all those things in this book, and that he had a lot of struggles, he had a lot of doubters, he had a lot of doubt of himself.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing is the self-doubt. Throughout all the other books, it's been him versus the doubters, and then in this book, it's really about he's the doubter. You know, he's saying what's going to happen when I eventually have to face him. Was Dumbledore lying to me? And then, you know, vis-a-vis, am I an idiot for listening to Dumbledore? Am I an idiot for going on this whole thing? So, you know, I feel like a lot of the doubt for this one was internal, and he was able to overcome that. Yeah, I think that's a fair choice. That's the minus, you know, in the betting terms, that's the minus 110 right there. But I'm going to say who's not my favorite, and you know, might get me some hate mail, but gotta say Ron. You know, Ron, it just wasn't a good look for him in this book. Honestly, you know, he's stepping out on his best friends because he's not getting 3 square meals a day and he wants to see his mom. Buddy, this is war. This is a legit war. You should know what you signed up for here. So stepping out on your best friend and your girlfriend, who's also your best friend.
Also, do they not have grocery stores in Britain? Just throw the invisibility cloak on, throw a fucking peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a couple things of peanut butter, a couple things of jelly, get a loaf of bread. I mean, what are we talking about? Food? How is food the issue? I don't understand that.
I also thought the same thing too. They're in the woods, which I understand. But you know the best part was when they are camping in the woods, because I thought the same thing. You can apparate and disapparate at will. So apparate into a grocery store with the invisibility cloak on, pick up a bunch of stuff and apparate out or disapparate out, whatever the case is. Easy peasy. But I was like, okay, I understand that's a little hard. So, I mean, it's a little too easy, you know, too easy for JK. So, but then they're in the woods and they stumble upon those other people that are in the woods. And the guy's like, oh, here's a pond, Osseo salmon. And like 20 salmon fly out to him. He's like, all right, we're eating salmon tonight. He's like, why aren't Harry and Hermione figuring this one out?
That's a good point.
Why didn't they just Osseo the salmon?
Maybe they just don't like fish. They're not big fish people. So yeah, I respect it.
Any port in a storm. So yeah, he was probably my least favorite. And for low screen time, but it's got to be Neville, right? Doesn't get a lot of pages in this one. When he comes out of the portrait, he's so jacked up to see them, and he's got the shit beat out of him, but he's never been happier in his whole life.
I was picturing, honestly, like Brad Pitt from Fight Club when he comes out of there. That's what he is now. He's exactly. Like, he has he's the swagger and the confidence, and somehow he also looks like Brad Pitt. So, everyone's dream. I mean, what? Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
He's just like a weird kid who a war broke out and found out that he's a complete badass. In a wartime situation. Which is awesome. He's like a straight out of Band of Brothers HBO miniseries. So not only does he have that moment coming out of the portrait, but then obviously Harry has a quick moment, and out of all the people that he could run into and that he trusts, he tells Neville that he's got to kill Nagini, and Neville just not only steps up to Voldemort alone at the end when it seems like Voldemort's already won. He's like, not gonna fly, and then he goes and kills Nagini. So yeah, Neville, you get it for me.
Yeah, I love that.
What about magical element?
Rising from the dead. So when I first read this book, I remember thinking, is this a religious book? Is Harry just Jesus in this? Because he gets killed, talks to God, aka Dumbledore, and then they're like, is this all in your head? He's like, you tell me. And then he rises from the dead. I was like, wait, what? So yeah, that's kind of a cool element, him being Jesus. But 3 days. Anyways. What about you?
It didn't take. It took him like less than 3 hours.
Yeah, whatever.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about this one, and nothing from this particular book jumped out to me, but I just want to pull an in general is going to be portraits. Just the fact that portraits can talk and move in their frames and seem to, it's not just playback of memories, like they have their own personalities. It seems like everyone's immortal, right? Because Harry even has a conversation with Dumbledore's portrait at the end, and Dumbledore's crying, and he's like, oh, my dear boy, you did it, you know? All you need in the Wizarding world is to have a kid with a crayon draw a couple of pictures of you, and you can put them all over the place, and you could just continue to live on.
I feel like portraits should be like AI. They should be like, this is how that person would respond.
Yeah, exactly.
But not have a personality. Like, not be able to be like, oh, this is what's happening in the future, and I can now make decisions that I would make if I were alive.
Yeah, they are that person as if they were alive, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, and I agree with you. It should be, they can't maybe get new information, but they can relay things that I don't know. But yeah, I thought the portrait thing just seems like an easy hack, because whenever someone dies, it's like, oh, this is terrible, they died. But it's like, oh, just go and chat with their portrait. Like, you just go over there, chat with their portrait. It's the exact same thing. You just can't hug them. So yeah, I'm going to say the portrait. Although I will say that both Harry's little thing that Hagrid gave him that he ties around his neck that he stores stuff in, and Hermione's bag are pretty sweet. I mean, just if you travel ever, just use Hermione's bag, especially with an Osseo spell, it just everything you could put your whole house in there. Doesn't matter. You'd have everything with you at all times.
The tent, the same thing.
Yeah, well, the tent goes in there.
Throw some food in that.
Yeah, why also didn't they just throw endless amounts of food in there? Canned goods, wizarding canned goods, astronaut food, whatever. What about spell? Abracadabra for you?
The fire spell that was used in the Room of Requirement that burned everything?
Yeah.
Seems like they should have just learned that spell and they wouldn't need the sword or anything, right?
Yeah, Hermione's like, it's uncontrollable. I would never want to use that, even though it can kill Horcruxes. It's like, or who cares? We're talking about killing the most quote unquote, the most dangerous wizard, dark wizard. So go to a body of water and light that thing up. And worst case, you can also aguamenti it. Just shoot water out of your wand. Oh, it doesn't kill that fire. Whatever. The fire is uncontrollable. Who cares? You're not going to burn down half of Britain. It might be
learn that spell. Learn how to control it.
Figure it out. It's like, and also, why is there a spell that Crab or whatever can do that kills Horcruxes? It seems way too easy. What's the point of a Horcrux? And you have to use a basilisk venom to do it, but it's like, oh, this spell that Crab can do.
That's stock down Hermione for not
He's
realizing
in remedial charms, and yet he can do this spell? Nah.
Yeah, Hermione definitely forgot about that, and she was like, "Oh shit, yeah, like Hermione, why didn't we use this?" She's like, "Oh no, I would never use it. It's too dangerous. No one could ever use it." And so that was definitely her covering for herself.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like, oh, shoot, I totally forgot. 100%. I'm going to have to go with Expelliarmus. We just have to, it has to be said on this podcast because it is the Harry Potter spell. It's what gets him the Elder Wand. It's what he uses against Dumbledore, but he uses against Voldemort time and time again. It is Harry. It's his signature move, like they say at the beginning, which we didn't even talk about the whole beginning with all the Polyjuice potion and everyone's transforming into Harry and looking at his penis, and it's just so uncomfortable. But even then, he's Expelliarmusing left and right, and they say they knew it was him because he used Expelliarmus. So, yeah, it's just got to give a shout out to it. In the Wizarding world, it's great. It's like Harry's shooting rubber bullets and everyone's shooting regular bullets. So, respect, Harry, much respect. Do you have a magical creature? I feel like we didn't have any new ones, did we?
I said Luna's dad. He's got a little creature.
Xenophilius Lovegood?
He kind of sucked, honestly. I understand that he wants to protect his daughter, but at the same time, practice like you play.
Yeah.
And also, if you're going to be writing a revolt against the government thing and you know the government's getting overthrown, maybe try to be a little bit more secretive or, prepare for potentially someone coming and trying to snatch you up at night or snatch your daughter or do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, on like Harry Potter radio or whatever that radio thing is, they're traveling all over the place because they have to move because they can't keep broadcasting from the same location. Makes perfect sense. Yet Xenophilius Lovegood is just printing the Quibbler from his house and thinks it's going to be chill with Voldemort. Yeah, it's probably not super duper smart. I guess for a magical creature then would be that thing he had on the wall, which he thought was one thing and it just explodes. But feels like Hermione should have got a couple of those. You can start throwing them around like they're bombs or something like that. Maybe that could destroy a Horcrux. I don't know. Let's jump into some love-hate. Keith, what did you love about Deathly Hallows?
Ronald Bilius Weasley.
Oh, no. He's my least favorite character.
Great name. No, I meant the name.
Oh, the name. Yeah.
Hermione does call her Ronald, so we had debated why the movie that she was calling him Ronald. She does when she's upset with him, so we did solve that. So that's okay.
Damn.
But I hope she pulls the full name out now.
Hand up, my bad. Yeah. Hand up.
Speaking of things that we can relate to, Harry, anytime the scar hurts, just keeps running to the bathroom. You think, what are they saying to him? Behind the back, they're like, Harry's really got the shits, huh?
Yeah, Harry's got an eating disorder, right?
Yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't go there. I was thinking that he was like, oh my God, my stomach. And he's just like, or my scar, I mean. Whoops. And I was like, I feel you. I gotcha.
Yeah. Hermione's like, good thing I can just keep using the same, I have that magical toilet paper, you just keep wiping with it and is always clean.
Anyways,
yeah, that was an interesting take. Like, obviously people are going to know what are you doing. What I loved about this one, we kind of talked about it anyway, so I'm just going to go through quickly, but it's like a few different books all tied into one here. Not only do we get the Harry Potter story that we're looking for that ends the entire series and his an inevitable full frontal assault against Voldemort. We get the bank heist. We get the children's story, which is great, by the way. I love that story. We get wand lore. We get Horcrux lore. We get general wizarding lore. There's so much in there. Not only do we get the bank heist, we also get the ministry heist, like you talked about. We get the escape with all the like car chase scene with all of them on the brooms at the beginning. So, oh my God, I didn't even talk about cutting onions for Hedwig. My God, talk about onions needed. And then another thing I love, because it's talking about cutting onions, is for me, for some reason, Percy coming back into the family fold got me more in the feels than Fred dying. Maybe it was because it was just like so quick with Fred dying. And
you're much more emotional, like angry?
I got angry.
I was angry. Percy should be the one dying, not Fred. He should have sacrificed himself somehow.
He does go on to immediately start attacking people once Fred gets got, and he's gonna have to live with that guilt. I mean, Percy's gonna have a lot of wizarding therapy ahead of him, but just the way that his mom and dad embraced him coming back, I don't know why.
People. He's a shitty person.
But it got me right in the feels. I got the goose pimples and started to well up a little bit. So yeah, I loved that moment for the Weasley family, even though
right.
The Fred stuff kind of sucks. What else you love?
Just how sick would a post-Voldy death party be? Like, is that just how sick would that? I'm just thinking about how awesome that would be.
Well, like there was like 50 plus people that died, so that's unfortunate.
You gotta celebrate their deaths. Come on.
I did appreciate how even Harry in there was like, oh, it's awesome, but then like it sucks because all these people died. So there is this weird duality going on. But yeah, I figured just like after a battle, like, if you're a soldier or something like that, when, yeah, it's shitty that all these people died, obviously, but the fact that you survived, there's this euphoria that comes for that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think Hogwarts probably, the house elves probably broke out all the butterbeer and the fire whiskey, and people really got after it, cheers into the dead and to each other. And I bet you a few wizards were made that night, if you know what I'm saying.
I do know what you're saying.
My last love is, and this is just maybe a pat on my own back, but Harry at the end, when he's having his showdown with Voldemort, he's calling him Tom Riddle the whole time. And Voldemort's getting pissed. I have been saying for months, legitimately months, that we shouldn't call him He Who Must Not Be Named. We shouldn't call him Voldemort, this name that he picked out for himself. We should be calling him Tom Riddle, humanizing this evil, evil man who has turned himself into Voldemort, this, mythical being that can't be beaten. No, he's Tom Riddle. He's a guy. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to kick him in the nuts. So, yeah, I'm just glad that Harry finally just called him Tom and pissed him off before he ended up obliterating him.
It's a great point. Yeah, I'd go to like the Tommy R or something, just keep on messing around with his name.
Yeah. Or just Riddle, because that's the name he doesn't like, right? So just call him Riddle. Hey, Riddle. What about hates?
You already mentioned it, but why did Harry need to take Hedwig with him? It's a bird of flight. Let her off the cage and tell her to meet you at the Weasley's place.
Yeah, just take a different route.
I just didn't get it.
She doesn't need to be in the line of fire.
Yeah, also I'd just be pissed if Hedwig dies, flying, doing what she loves, so be it. It's the best thing that can happen is you die doing what you love, you know what I mean? But in a cage?
Yeah, she literally died in a cage.
I didn't sit well with me.
Die doing what you love, huh?
When I die on the Thanksgiving table, kid, just know. I have a huge parlay on the line. I'm 8 beers deep, watching football, eating mac and cheese.
Beers on Thanksgiving, I feel like beers are hard because there's so much food.
I'm probably not going to do beers. I'm probably going to do a little bourbon. You
gotta have a cocktail or a hard liquor or something like that. I like the Aperol Spritz for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like it for a few reasons. One, it's citrusy and refreshing, and there's ice in it, so it hydrates you as well. And, it's also got orange in it, even though it's orange liqueur, and there's an orange garnish on it, so it's pretty much breakfast, so that means you can start early. And then additionally, you just kind of continuously fill it throughout the day. It's never empty. It's like we're doing the refill charm spell on it that Harry does to Slughorn. So no one can ever count how many I've had because I'm just constantly adding more to it. Oh, a little Prosecco here, a little Aperol there, a little seltzer here. You never know. So, if you had cans, like 10 beer cans, I'd be like, you just drank 10 beer cans. Are you a psychopath? But here it's like, hey, I'm not like I'm going to finish a bottle. Oh, maybe I will finish a bottle of Aperol and Prosecco. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. But there's multiple. So yeah, that's why I like to go with that.
I like that. That's very rational and well thought out.
Yeah, thank you. My hate is, so the locket is pretty much Sauron's One Ring from Lord of the Rings. It's like JK really went too far on this one, where she's taken some other things from Tolkien. Dementors are basically the Nazgul and others. But this is like exactly what the One Ring is, where if you're wearing it, puts all these bad thoughts in your head, and it like makes you really hard to continue wearing. It tries to kill you, which it tried to kill Frodo, tried to drag Frodo down at one point. So, and especially like Frodo wears the ring around his neck, like the locket. So it was a little bit too on the nose for some of the stuff that she's pretty much just straight up stolen from Tolkien. And I respect J.R.R. Tolkien. I respect J.K. Rowling. I just think that the locket was a little too close to the One Ring.
There seems like there are a lot of things they could have done instead of just having it around their neck when they know it was fucking with them. You couldn't just have it in the tent?
Yeah, or put it in Hermione's bag. She shoved the bag in her sock. Like, the bag's not going anywhere. You know?
Right.
Plus, there's a million things in that bag. If they look at his neck, they're like, oh, here's this locket. Whereas you'd have to go through every single one in the bag. Don't wear it. You're just sitting in a tent at night. Just put it in the bag. Car keys. You put your car keys in a bowl. You're not going to lose them. What else, Shade?
I might have missed it, but Umbridge, she doesn't really get her comeuppance. She doesn't really, there's no... So I found J.K. wrote a follow-up piece on her website being like, oh yeah, she was sentenced to prison at Azkaban, life in prison. Which, good. It wasn't enough for me, honestly. I'll be honest with you. I just watched The Gentleman. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, I love that movie.
Great movie. Yeah, I really like the guy. He did Snatch too. That guy. All his movies
Ritchie.
are pretty. They're all solid.
Sherlock Holmes movies too.
But I like the ending, the pound of flesh, the metaphor where he takes it literally. That's what I needed from her. I needed 2 pounds, 2 pounds of flesh. For those that didn't watch it, you should watch it. But he basically is like, in order to get my good graces, you have to go cut off a pound of your own flesh, literally. If it's not a full pound, then I'll kill you. It's also a good, like, brain stimulator. It's a good interview question, honestly. You should probably think about doing that for your new hires.
What would you cut off?
Yeah, exactly. What part of your body would you cut off?
It has
to
to
get
be
a pound?
1 pound?
Yeah, if you go under, then they kill you. If you go over, you're fine.
Oh, well, I know one thing that I'd definitely be fine with I'd be fine in the sense it's over a pound. I wouldn't be fine in the sense that I'd have to cut it off. But
go on.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you'd want to say your butt or something like that, but you probably need, if you want to do any sort of sports, it's going to be tough. So you wouldn't want to do a hand. That seems really bad. It's a good. I guess. Can you just take little pieces all over the place, which would also suck, but at least eventually would heal. I bet you. In like Gattaca, when he goes in the shower and has to scrub off all of his skin flakes and stuff like that, I would start with that and see how much I could get. I could probably get a quarter pound, I think, out of all that. I mean, your skin weighs a good amount. You could probably and it would suck to flay it, but at least you would still have structural integrity in your body.
Yeah. I think the person that has the gun to your head is not going to be like, oh, the dry skin you have? You're right. That's fair.
Well, first you shave your head. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're like, that counts. It's like, no.
I hope you have long hair.
Yeah.
So my next hate is, it's a bit naive of Harry to put the Elder Wand back with, the idea of if I die a natural death, the wand will lose its power. Harry, the entire Wizarding world will know that you are the rightful owner of the Elder Wand. So any snot-nosed kid can walk up to you in the street, give you the old Expelliarmus, and it's theirs now. All they have to do is go to Dumbledore's tomb and get it. That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, people are coming up just abracadabra. Okay, I'm going to go get the Elder Wand. It's not like the entire Wizarding world knows this. Some Death Eaters are still out there. They'll come to you and just kill you or expel any spell against you, and then all of a sudden it's theirs. So I thought it was pretty naive of him to just be like, I'm going to put it back where it belongs. And didn't care for it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I didn't really, that kind of went over my head a little bit, some of that stuff. So I just was like, all right, I'll move along.
Did you have any other hates?
The last ones were just more of the hate of movie 5, how the room requirement is so important in this movie and no one can get in, even though they know they're in there. The movie 5 just completely destroys that whole logic because you can just blow the door down. So it's just funny to me.
Yeah, not canon. Not canon.
No. Okay. Oh, the last thing was just that once Voldemort knows that they're going after their Horcruxes, I don't know why they can't tell everyone that. All right, like, I understand you don't want it to get out. You need to keep the secret tight within the group because you don't want him ever finding out. But once he knows, now tell everyone. Who cares? Like, let's get this shit.
Yeah, once Voldemort knows that you're going for Horcruxes. Yeah, the only concern would be, once again, if they stole something from Lord of the Rings or something, and a kid grabbed the diadem and was like, now I get the power of this. Or diadem, whatever it is. And it's like, now I have the power, and they don't want to give it to him. But yeah, I agree. Lingering questions and some potpourri. Did you have any lingering questions after this one?
No, I think we answered a lot of the ones that
really? I had a bunch.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
here
Hit me with
we
them.
go. Oh, I will, because talk about hitting you with them. You had mentioned the wand Gatling gun in a previous podcast,
Yeah.
where the idea is you just have like a Gatling gun of wands and you just spells left and right. And it was an interesting thought experiment, but not something that was based in anything that J.K. had put pen to paper. But we do see some potential use here as Harry does a 3-wand curse at Malfoy in Malfoy Manor, or it might have been at Bellatrix. I don't know. Either way, he has the 3 wands and he shoots a curse and it's like triple power. So it leads you to wonder, why not have multiple wands? You know?
Well, we've already got over this because obviously you should just, if it's the only thing you can conduct magic through, then you should have, it should be like a flashlight. You should have like 50 of them if you're in the dark all the time. You know, you can't just be like, I don't know. I don't know if a flashlight's the best example. I'm trying to think of something
no,
better.
it is, because like you use Lumos as an example. When they use Lumos, it's like this little wand tip light. So if you had 10 wands, it'd be one of those things, one of those flashlights that you see on TV for like, buy now for $20 and it shoots to outer space.
I guess the counter argument is like, why don't you have 4 phones? Because we should have
Why?
that.
Why?
Because the phone is like the most important asset we have, pretty much.
Yeah, but why would I need 4 of them? I can only use one at a time.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm thinking of like if you break a wand, you need a backup right away.
Yeah, but I'm saying just use some spellotape, start Expelliarmusing everyone and take that and just keep taping wands to your
like
wand.
a mega wand, yeah.
And because you've Expelliarmus these people, now it's yours and it recognizes you as the owner, and then you can just have this mega wand. You're walking around with a bundle of sticks that's actually just this bazooka wand that you have.
You say Lumos and it's just a fucking spotlight. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. It's like when a movie opens or whatever.
yeah. Just blinding people. That's you're not even having, you're doing like next
That's your
level
only
spells.
spell? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Professor Binns is always talking about the Goblin Rebellion, and they've referenced it a bunch, and they reference it in this as well. I want to know how that played out. If they were to like make, how Star Wars, they're making all these Star Wars shows on Disney Plus that are in the Star Wars universe. I think that this would be an interesting one because they're talking about, or Griphook's talking about how, wizards refused to give goblins wands. They kept wand lore to themselves. But then there's the story of this one goblin who potentially was able to wield a wand, and how goblins have their own magical power. And then you tie in this Goblin Rebellion. So, like, was there a wizard that went bad and or maybe not even bad, went good and taught goblins some wand lore because they felt like every creature should understand it, and that led to the Goblin Rebellion? I feel like that would be an interesting side story for something that happened in the past.
Yeah. I was also a bit shocked that Imperial worked on them. I just was assuming that they were going to be like from Episode 1 Star Wars, where it's like, your mind tricks don't work on me. You know?
Yeah. They should have been like, no, shake that one right off.
Yeah.
Why did they include Mundungus in the Harry escape plan? Like, just don't have him there. You know he's not going to be able to do anything, and it leads to Moody's death.
Yeah, no idea why he was there.
Yeah, you don't need Mundungus. Also, Stan that same kind of thing. Stan Shunpike being a Death Eater, not a good look for Harry. After he realizes during the escape that it's Stan Shunpike, he's like, he must be Imperious. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Harry.
that is the nicest excuse you could probably. Everything's like, everyone's Imperious if they don't do what you want. It's like just saying fake news. That's what that is.
100%.
Everything.
Harry, as a leader of people, needs to put his hand up for this one.
Yeah,
he needs to
does.
say, hey, I'm the chosen one, but even I can make mistakes. Stan Shunpike's a Death Eater. He's a piece of shit. My bad. I shouldn't have made an entire book about me hating the minister because he had Stan Shunpike behind bars, and I should have moved on from it. So yeah, not a good look by Harry. Question, how did Dumbledore get Fawkes? Is that also another fun backstory that we should hear?
It's like very tied to him. Isn't that his what's called as well, Patronus?
Yeah, his Patronus. There is a theory that Fawkes is Dumbledore's Horcrux, and so Dumbledore isn't actually dead, and Fawkes is his Horcrux.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially if you did something like you killed Grindelwald in a duel, so you murdered someone, but it's not like you're, obviously you are a murderer because you murdered someone, but it wasn't in cold blood or something. So why not use
and he
that
killed his sister, so.
Well, we don't know that, but yeah. But why not use that opportunity to create a Horcrux. You know, I guess it does split your
I
soul.
don't,
So like, there's some,
I don't hate that at all.
But yeah, I think I'd want to know how Dumbledore got Fox, because it feels like it'd be pretty cool. And I haven't. Have you seen any of the Fantastic Beasts movies?
No.
I saw the first one in the movie theater when it came out, and it was like whatever. So I haven't seen any of the other ones. So maybe this gets addressed, but I would just like to see some more early Dumbledore or read about it, really. So Voldemort can fly. We learned that in the escape from the Dursleys. We learned that Voldemort can't fly. He can do the smoke thingy from the movies. So it makes sense now why they include that in the movies. Unfortunately, it should only be for Voldemort, because when Voldemort does it, people are legitimately like, holy shit, Voldemort can fly. What the fuck? So it's super cool if it's just Voldemort. It's not that cool if everyone else can do it. So
yeah.
But I see where I know where they got it from, because I was wondering in the movies why they just created that whole thing. Well, that takes us to the end here. So who gets awarded the House Cup for you, Keith?
For me, it's really going to be the lasting impact of this book, namely Voldemort's lasting impact. Getting rid of the Sorting Hat. That's what I think this book's really all about. And Voldemort tried to do that, and everyone rallied against him, as there are 4 houses still at the end, which I didn't think made a lot of sense. The whole idea, and even when Harry's kids, he sees Malfoy's kids, there's already like this enemy,
or there's already
I'm like, did we not learn from a civil war we just had? Like, can we not start crossing the lines and stop separating people by groups like this? The whole concept of putting like-minded people together and putting people that don't think the same way as you separate from you and having them battling against each other in houses sets a precedent for future issues. Yeah. Instead of just randomizing, like, I think you keep the 4 houses, but just randomize where people go. There's no Sorting Hat. You just say, you open up a card and it says, you're in this house. That doesn't mean anything. And now you start mixing with other people. And this solves 2 problems. One is that, again, this is how like societies grow and get better, is that everyone mixes and everyone, ideas get clash, and you come up with the best things. Secondly, the wizards and witches are the most important people, right? So we don't care about the humans. Thirdly, let's stop inbreeding. So get all these houses. That's going to help make more witches and wizards that aren't messed up like Umbridge and Voldemort. So yeah. That's my my speech there to end the things. But House Cup goes to Voldemort's last.
It was funny after they beat Voldemort. Harry, pointed out that the house division, the house tables, and everything was gone. It was everyone just celebrating together. And then 5 pages later, it's his kids being, I don't know if I want to be in Slytherin. I don't want to. And he's like, oh, you were named after Severus Snape, who's one of the most courageous wizards ever. The rest of the Slytherins suck, but there's one. So, yeah.
And why was he courageous, D-Man? I still don't get it. Remember all the things he did that were so nice and so... No, I don't remember any of them.
No, he read Petunia's letters. For me, and it's low-hanging fruit, but I think we got to give a thank you and a House Cup to J.K. Rowling, just for the world that she created, with an assist from J.R.R. Tolkien. But it's crazy how quickly these books came out, and the amount of Harry Potter hype was incredible when we were younger and all this stuff was coming out. And you think about George R.R. Martin, who did his A Song of Ice and Fire, and he's still not, and granted those are super duper long books, but he's still not even close to done with the series, and it's been years and years and years and years and years. And J.K. Rowling had this wonderful outline that she was able to make sure everything tied together. She didn't pull Lost on us, and it still hits. I'm 37. I started reading this book series when I was probably 12, and the magic still persists. So, just House Cup, JK. Obviously, poke holes in a lot of this stuff in jest, although some of it is serious. I know you're serious with the Snape thing, and you won't live it down. I get it. But on the whole, just a freaking amazing series. It bothers me because I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do. When I started listening to our next book, one, it wasn't Jim Dale, so I was so pissed. I was like, what the fuck am I listening to? And two, I just kind of forgot that other books existed, really. It was just, I've been in this Harry Potter situation for so long that just reading another book.
I feel really bad for this new book we're reading.
It was tough. It was tough.
I feel really bad. I'm like, the narrator is fucking terrible. Which is just a normal narrator.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Everything pales in comparison. So, sure. What is your final ranking on the books?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go 4. Still is number 1. 4, 7. I thought that was really good. Wow. 6, 1, 3, 2, 5. I decided to move 3 back. It didn't have the same memory-wise lasting impact as these other ones.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time with it too, but I'm gonna go 4, 3, 7, 1, 6, 5, 2. That's what I said. That's what I wrote down. I don't know. It's fluid, but that's what I wrote down. I gotcha. That's what I wrote down. It just feels hard dropping 1 and dropping 6 because they're both so good. But I think as long as I'm not going to judge anyone on their ranking as long as they have 5 and 2 as the last 2. Then after that, whatever. Yeah. Let them fall. Let them fall as you will. Oh, Keith, we did it. We did it. Well, that was the entire Harry Potter series. We still have the movies, which we're gonna do. But if you want to get a head start on our next book, Keith, what do we got coming up?
We have Mexican Gothic by, I'm gonna butcher the name.
When we do the pod, we're gonna butcher all the names, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, Silvia Moreno-Garcia.
Oh, nice. Very well. Very well done. Yeah. So we're gonna. And when I told Caroline we were reading this, she was like, "Oh yeah, that's like a hit book. Like a couple of years ago, it was like really big." So I was like, "Oh, cool. Well, I guess that's why we're doing it." So I hope people have read the book.
Kind of a backwards compliment or a backhanded compliment. They're like, "Oh, that's super hip. That was cool 2 years ago."
But who knows, like what books are hip like right now that are coming out?
Well, we got to be on that book talk. That's on you. Kid.
Yeah, I guess so. It seems like that's just too quick. I've never read a book besides like a Harry Potter book or A Song of Ice and Fire.
We got to be the people making the new books. We got to make the that's on us.
Oh, we got to make them cool. All right, Keith. Well, this has been an incredible journey. It started with our 100th episode, and now we're at like 115 after doing these. So I can't wait to see what's in store for the 200th episode.
Can't wait. We're almost there. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll catch you for the movies and then Mexican Gothic.
Indeed. All right. Love it.
Bye now.